Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
This is take number 7.
And don't forget, you can download the news as a podcast if you're out and about by searching for WhatCulture Wrestling on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. But coming up today, huge news about the potential future of the Kabuki Warriors.
Oney Lorcan wants out of WWE, and we're going to tell you the latest.
Which WWE superstar has taken an indefinite leave of absence?
The latest NXT UK TakeOver has been announced, and so have 3 matches.
WWE could be set to take over another industry.
This big NXT injury from last week was a work, and it's not me a yib.
This is the news.
But we are going to kick things off with a story, because that's what we do on this show. We talk about news stories, and this is indeed a story that is news, and it revolves around one Rey Mysterio. So this is more revisiting information that came up back in September 2018 when Rey Mysterio signed with WWE. As reported by PW Insider's Mike Johnson, that contract included a clause that would allow Rey to opt out and effectively leave WWE after 18 months if he wasn't feeling happy with how things were going. So that would take him through to March 2020. That's just a few short months away, and that would mean he could potentially leave the company before WrestleMania 36. Couple of things to unpack here. Obviously, this is the era of WWE just hoarding anyone that they deem to be a potential difference maker if they went to AEW. Rey Mysterio certainly falls under that category, but Rey would have signed this contract with the clause prior to AEW's launch. It should also be noted that Rey's probably quite creatively fulfilled at the moment, given that he's getting a WWE Championship shot against Brock Lesnar this very weekend, and they're doing something long-term with his son Dominic as well. But it's still interesting to note the idea that this guy, who still has loads and loads of stock within the company and with fans, and is currently at the heart of one of WWE's best current programs, could potentially be gone by the time we even hit WrestleMania.
I'm kind of conflicted on this one, because I'm always of the opinion that many wrestlers, especially when they come back, overstay their welcome and get a little bit normalised. I think Rey Mysterio right now is still hot property, someone that the fans would love to see, whether they saw him back in his pomp or even now. He's so revitalised. So there's a bit of me that thinks maybe that'd be good, just a really hot run, this match at Survivor Series against Brock Lesnar, and then a few more matches, and maybe they can, with arguments about his injuries, stretch it out till just up until WrestleMania 36, and that could be his big farewell. But like you say, I don't see him doing this. And there's so much stuff he can do, especially because this stuff, I sense that it's also a decision not just about his career, but about his son's, because being in and around WWE will be working wonders for Dominic. And when we worked with Rey and I chatted to him about his son, he was very much of the opinion that, look, he wants to become a pro wrestler. I'm going to help him as much as possible. And why not do that in the biggest wrestling company in the world? It might not be the best for someone like him, but he would learn boatloads being around WWE, so long as Brock Lesnar isn't chucking him about every single week.
Yeah, I think the only, it's kind of hard to imagine a scenario where he does walk, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting that this major star, which Mysterio certainly is, certainly not on the same level as like a Brock or whatever, but he's a big name, could potentially walk away from in an era when the company have so much control over their own wrestlers' futures. It's going to be an interesting one to follow over the coming months.
Baron Corbin's going to retire at WrestleMania, isn't he?
Oh, wow.
Right, let's move on. Loads of news stories coming out recently, centering around the likes of Io Shirai and Kairi Sane, and the future of the Kabuki Warriors now. They're not the Kabuki Warriors, WWE, remember. Kairi Sane and, I've also got a name then, Asuka are, of course, the Kabuki Warriors. That's and great. Lots of stuff doing the rounds about their potential, maybe not departing WWE permanently, but exploring options outside of WWE. Loads of speculation around what's going to go on with them and Stardom. And Dave Meltzer has noted that Kairi Sane has expressed an interest in exploring opportunities outside WWE, but Asuka seems very happy in the company.
Yeah, very happy in the United States as well, working on a little gaming channel, having a lot of fun, holding titles, maybe not as maybe not as arsed about like the way things went in 2018 as a lot of people may have suggested. The Kairi thing's quite interesting because it follows up on last week's story that Stardom, or Bushiroad, who own and operate Stardom now, wanted to bring Kairi and Io Shirai back upon the expirations of their WWE contract. Kairi's contract, I believe the first one was signed in March 2017. It was a 3-year deal that would expire, like Rey, if he opts his clause, March 2020, which is not all that long away. And if she's exploring opportunities outside of WWE, that might be a potential option. I mean, it's WWE. They're going to throw like a massive big money offer at Kairi Sane to try and keep her around, because she is someone who could go elsewhere and be a difference maker, because she's bloody fantastic. So another interesting one to follow, man. The labor market in pro wrestling is a weird place at the moment. It's not as chaotic as it was earlier in the year when everyone and their grandmother and their dog walker and their dog walker's dog walker was getting signed. But there's still a lot of stuff going on, and that's one of the exciting things about competition.
I've had a lot of ups and downs, Simon Miller, regarding WWE recently, but if they inexplicably let Kairi Sane go before the WrestleMania with the pirate ship, I'm done.
Excellent point. Burn the company to the ground, baby. Maybe they should enlist Seth Rollins for that task. Anyway, one guy who certainly wants out of WWE, per PW Insider's Mike Johnson, is Oney Lorcan. You might have noticed this story emerging over the weekend, but basically, according to Johnson, Lorcan requested his release from WWE late last month. He obviously hasn't been granted that yet because, you know, there hasn't been an official statement from the company. So still awaiting that. No idea how it's going to go. Although with the report that WWE might let people go, they don't deem potential game changers for AEW. Maybe they will let Oney go. Dave Meltzer has some information. He spoke in a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio. Doesn't know why the reason behind Lorcan's departure, but has heard from his sources that Oney has not been happy for a rather long time. It's also worth noting that Oney hasn't wrestled a WWE match since the 25th of October episode of 205 Live. And he also recently changed his Twitter name from Oney Lorcan or Oney Rules, whatever the hell it was in all caps, to Biff Busick, which was his old name on the indies. Now, I don't know what to think about this, because Oney Lorcan is, even for, you know, I look like him, so this isn't shtick. Oney Lorcan is legitimately one of my favourite, like, low-key guys in WWE.
He's great.
He's so exciting. Every time he turns up, he's so mental. He runs around, he's dishing out LBs, he's slapping dudes in the face, he's screaming. I just think he's so much fun to watch, and he's one of these guys who, whenever he shows up on 205 Live or NXT, I'm like, oh yes, Oney's here. Like, I have to pay real attention to this. And I would hate to lose that from the WWE product. But at the same time, if you look at his skill set and his look and certain other things, he's probably not a guy who's ever going to get a major main roster push of any caliber. He's maybe hit his ceiling already after 4 years in the company. And at 34 years old in just a couple of weeks, I mean, maybe it would be better for his career to move on. Either way, I just love the guy and I want to see him do good things.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think he's always entertaining. I always think that when he's on, as much as we are fans of his, I think casual fans sort of go, oh, who's this guy? And then about 5 minutes into the match, they're like, this guy's great.
This guy rules, yeah.
So it would
like
be a legitimately big loss for WWE in that kind of thinking. But like you say, if they don't perceive him as a big money talent, let's just say, I think he couldn't do any worse even than going to AEW. I think they do some good stuff with him.
He's just so much fun to watch. He's such a little ball of energy.
And he's fun all caps on Twitter.
Oh, exactly. All caps yelling.
Right, let's move on to another potential departure from WWE, or at the very least, an indefinite leave of absence. The Brian Kendrick. Remember him if you've not been watching 205 Live like myself. Then you've probably forgotten about him, but you remember how great he is and was back in the day, of course. And he recently took to Twitter and announced he's taken an indefinite leave of absence from WWE and, of course, in particular, 205 Live. He tweeted, "It's been 3 years since my last Cruiserweight title opportunity," which is probably the last time I actually saw Brian Kendrick wrestle then. "Since then, it's become evident that nobody on WWE 205 Live understands nor respects the robe that I paid for them. Therefore, I'm taking an indefinite leave of absence from the ring." And then a lovely sunset photo there. Now, of course, Kendrick was involved in training Ronda Rousey when she was getting back into wrestling. So we don't know whether or not his services are going to be transitioned to other areas of the business, or whether or not this is just one big storyline. I can't hope it is a storyline, because I think Brian Kendrick is a brilliant wrestler, and in and around a championship, that sort of title picture, he's always entertaining.
It's an interesting little tweet there, because like the way it's phrased and the tone of it, you might look at that and go, yes, this is a straight up work. Look at it, it's the kind of thing wrestlers do all the time. But at the same time, he's 40 years old, he's a trainer, he has a wealth of experience that he could use and be a valuable player in a backstage role. I could totally see him stepping away from the ring. Also, if you look at the 205 Live core roster, disregarding people who they share with NXT, so your Raul Mendozas and your Oneys, I guess, this would take it down to something like 6 wrestlers, 2 of whom are the Singh brothers, who kind of always work together. They're always on screen together, so they're kind of like one act, really, because they're a tandem. It's a really, really thin roster, so they could really do with not losing Brian Kendrick. So I kind of hope this is a work. He's a really entertaining little fella, and like I used to like total guilty pleasure of mine from back in the day, the little alliance with Ezekiel Jackson when he had the cool jacket and he was like swaggering down the ring, man with a plan, all that, really good.
I just want Paul London and Brian Kendrick. I just miss them. Paul London is an absolute piece.
Shall we move on to NXT UK?
Yeah, let's move on.
Right, so NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2 has been announced. It was announced at the TV tapings for NXT UK in the lovely city of Hull, England over the weekend. It's January 11th, Saturday night, 2020. Blackpool Empress Ballroom, which, if you recall, is the building that hosted the UK title tournament back in January 2017. The birth, really, of the whole NXT UK movement. So they've also unveiled a number of matches that came from these tapings. These are spoilers, so to be courteous, I'm gonna hold my hand up. When my hand goes back down, you hit mute now. When my hand goes back down, you unmute, you will avoid the spoilers. So the matches confirmed for TakeOver so far are a 4-way ladder match for the tag team titles, pitting Gallus, Imperium, and the Grizzled Young Vets and South Wales Subculture against each other. We then have a 3-way for the NXT UK Women's Championship. This is such a mouthful, this brand name. Kaylee Ray defending against Toni Storm and Piper Niven. And then in the main event, NXT UK Champion Walter Michael Hamflett defending the belt against Joe Coffey. Who of course headlined the first TakeOver Blackpool event. So, spoilers over. You can put your volume back on. If you got massive comedy ears like me, you can turn it down to a nice little level so it doesn't blow your eardrums apart. But that's TakeOver Blackpool 2.
Can't believe Roman Reigns is working TakeOver Blackpool. Let us know your thoughts on that in the comments section below. And we'll move on into WWE taking over an entire new industry because WWE look to be getting into esports, which I'm reliably informed by the young people in the office are quite popular. I don't know, computers scare me. They could be launching their own gaming league. They filed trademarks with USPTO, that's the United States Patent and Trademark Office. They filed trademarks for WWE, SGL, and Superstar Gaming League. This was filed last Monday. So WWE, after expanding into everything, could be now expanding into esports, which is, of course, is a big business, which Vince McMahon has probably just heard of.
Yeah, it's probably loads and loads of crossover between video gaming and wrestling fans and esports fans and all this stuff. We saw AEW collaborate to do Fyter Fest with Alex Jabali's organization earlier this year. Makes all the sense in the world. Xavier Woods, up, down, down, has all the guys on it, playing games, loads of wrestlers do streaming and all kinds of stuff. Makes good sense. I don't know anything about esports, so that's as far as my analysis goes.
Yeah, all I can think about when people talk about like mass gaming like this is that old photo that does the rounds on the internet of that bloke like sellotape to a ceiling playing a computer around someone's house. Love that,
isn't it? Counter-Striker, StarCraft, or something like that. Anyway,
sorry, just hear Scott Telford exploding in the other room.
Our final story. I do like Death Stranding, though. Not that matters.
Postman Pat.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos Simulator 2020. Our last story of the day, and there's not a lot to pick apart here. Dave Meltzer, if you watched last week's NXT, you would have seen a number of horrific injuries. Mia Yim got the worst of it, although she was on SmackDown because she's hard as hell and really tough. Busting up her face, busting her back on a terrible ladder bump. Well, Aliyah also busted her nose open in a match with Xia Li that Walter, through the house, correctly pointed out, it was probably a work at the time, and he got a lot of slag for that, but guess what? It was a work. According to Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio, Aliyah's broken nose was indeed a work. That's why they made such a big deal with the medic and the towel and all that and the fake blood and all this, because she needs to take time off for a real-life nose operation. So this was done to write her off TV so she can have that done. Good stuff, good little work. A lot of people were fooled.
Yeah, absolutely. And later on today, when we do our podcast, Michael Sidgwick will be doing an on-air apology to Michael Hamflett.
Oh, was it Sidgwick? Oh,
it
no.
was Hamflett who said it, and Sidgwick was like, don't talk nonsense. So I'm going to get him to apologise, and that's going to...
I'm going to see those dudes brawl.
I'm going to enjoy that. But yeah, shout out to Michael Hamflett. Great spot from him. And
Cheers, Walter.
Get well soon, Aliyah, as well. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Cormac Levy, who says, if you were to make a 5-on-5 Survivor Series Series match between the biggest babyfaces and the biggest heels ever in WWE, who would you pick?
Wow, that's a big picture question, is it not? Babyfaces: Steve Austin, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, John Cena. Just John Cena's a divisive one. Oh man, from there you can pick really any one of several done. Bruno Sammartino, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Carried business back in the day. For the heels, what are we thinking?
Vince has to be a captain.
Yes.
Triple H, probably.
Yep.
Seth Rollins, whether intentionally or not.
Yeah, sure.
Hulk Hogan again?
Yeah, we can.
Monday Hulk Hogan.
Terry Bollea. Yeah.
One more heel.
The thing is, there's so many you could choose. You could choose Shawn Michaels. Let's just choose Shawn Michaels. Why not?
Yeah.
Back when he was on the stuff.
On
back
the stuff
in the day.
Anyone you want to mention, let us know in the comments section below. Christopher Blade gives us our second question today. He says, based on in-ring performance, who do you think is the most overrated wrestler in WWE?
Oh wow. Who do I think is the most? About 6 months ago, I would have honestly said Seth Rollins because before he said he was the best in the world, I do think a lot more people were making the argument that he deserves to be in the conversation with the Okadas and stuff of the world. My opinion, he's just a notch below that, but very few people are making that argument now. Oh man, this is such a tough question to answer because I think that most wrestlers in WWE are genuinely excellent performers. So, who's the guy that just doesn't really do it? Man, you answer first. I'm lost.
Nia Jax.
Nia Jax is a solid answer. I can't. It's a friend of the chat. Natalia, I don't get it.
There's an argument to be made. It's Randy Orton because he's one move effectively,
yeah.
isn't he? He's a phenomenal wrestler, obviously, third generation, incredible.
Yep.
But I just don't care during his matches until he hits the RKO.
Yeah, and to be fair to Randy as well, that's by choice. He's cultivated that ring style because he knows he just needs the big RKO pop. Triple H is another one. Triple H and Randy Orton actually are probably the answers, right? Because they're the ones, whenever I mention them in a less than complimentary light, my mentions fill up with people telling me that they're the best in the world or whatever, or they're still top 10 in the world and all this stuff. And I just don't think they are. Yeah, I'm going with Triple H. You can have Randy Orton.
There is not enough money in the world for me to watch that WrestleMania 25 main event.
Oh, brother.
Right, anyway, let's move on. Final question today comes from Gifted Pink, who says, now that NXT is on TV proper, what changes do you see there being in the call-up system going forward? If they are now main roster, will talent only move during drafts?
Yeah, I think that might be the case, although it does lose some of the spontaneity of people just randomly turning up. I think WWE are going out of their way, they've presented NXT as an alternative, but it's very much presented on a similar level to Raw and SmackDown now. So yes, I think that will be the case. I think we could see a scenario where NXT is just a regular draft brand. I don't think the switches will be as pronounced as Raw and SmackDown. I don't think we'll see 20 people go and then 20 people from Raw and SmackDown come in because you still need it for developmental. But yes, I do.
I feel like if we're going to do more of a sports feel as well, doing sort of trades, not all the time, but every now and again when it needs something refreshing or someone needs a bit of a boost restarting on a product, just say the people from the networks have got in touch and tonight on Raw or SmackDown or NXT, we're going to be revealing our newest trade. And no one really needs to keep any track of, hang on, who's traded what and for who. Just have people show up and make an impact, basically. I think that's the best way to do it. Right, let's move on to today's and finally. And today's and finally comes from Dale Perkins, whose birthday it was yesterday. Happy birthday to you, Dale. And check out this awesome cake his girlfriend made him for his 30th birthday.
Oh my God, that is
My
sick.
wife didn't make me anything like
Oh
that.
man, that's awesome. Good effort. Really good stuff. Well done, Dale's girlfriend. Good
Yeah,
job.
words when I get home.
I want one of those.
I didn't get anything like that for my 30th.
That's really detailed, man.
I didn't even get a Colin the Caterpillar.
I struggle to spread cheese on a biscuit, and look at that. It's
Let us know
Colin the Caterpillar.
in the comments or on Twitter your wrestling themed cakes. I'm hungry today. That may have been the catalyst for all this. But let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Myself and the Daddy Boys, complete with that apology from Michael Sidgwick. We'll be doing a Raw preview a little bit later on today. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter and your Twitter questions and your wrestling cakes at WhatCulture WWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow him at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hell Ripper. check them out if you like speed metal.
Rah. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. You can follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. As I said, my thanks to Andy. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
Colin the Caterpillar, man.